We are now just days away from set 1 cards being unusable in Diamond Dynasty, except obviously for your one wild card, which you can keep. But I'm thinking that there's a very good chance we see a pretty big shift in the market here very soon. So I wanted to go over whether it makes sense to sell off your set 1 cards or just hold on to them, and whether there is a good reason to just hold on to them and wait. And if you guys do enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. But let's go ahead and start off by talking about what might happen to prices on set 1 cards. And let me say before I get into this, it's very difficult to predict the market and how it's going to change and shift each day. I more just want to give you guys my opinion for what I think is going to happen to these prices. And because of this, I feel like what most likely is going to happen, like I said, the set 1 cards are going to be unusable soon. So I think we're going to see a crash, and I think for some of these cards, we're already starting to see this. I'm not sure that, the crash really hasn't happened all yet, but I think we're starting to see this with some cards, and I think very soon we're going to see a little bit of a crash. And I think a crash would especially affect the cards that hold a lot of value. For example, like this Mike Trout right here. He hasn't really started to crash yet. He's still going for quite a bit. So now would not be a bad time to sell, in my opinion. And then you also have like the Roki Sasaki card that holds a lot of value. It's similar price to Trout. Another card that I wouldn't mind selling off personally. And then you got like the Griffey. You got the J-Rod, who holds a little bit of value, a little less than Trout. But who else? I mean, you got Tatis right here, right? You got he's starting to go down a little bit. I think his price will definitely go down more, but he's not he's not a terrible option, I guess, to wild card, but still, I think he's overvalued right now. And then you got Posada. I mean, his price has come down quite a bit. So, but he has, I think this card's going to continue to crash. It's just trending in that direction. It's already crashed a ton from just like a week or so ago. You got the Shohei. His price is starting to come down a little bit. So a lot of these high value cards, in my opinion, will start to come down as people start to panic sell closer to season 3, as set 3 cards come out, and everyone's going to want stubs for those cards. So try not to be like everyone else who's going to wait until the last second and then panic sell and dump all of your expensive set 1 cards, right as season 2 is ending, going into season 3. I would do it in advance. And to me, there really isn't a good reason for most of these set 1 cards to continue to hold the value that they do now and for, that they have for the first few months of the game. Like, why would some of these cards be going for hundreds of thousands of stubs if we literally can't use them for anything? Because I feel like a lot of people will use their wild card, like I said, for that, set 1 collection reward card, like a Chipper Jones, for example, rather than paying all of those stubs for one of the very expensive cards. So that's why I feel like it's just that the highly priced cards right now for set 1 will come down in value a good amount over the next week or so, and why selling your expensive set 1 cards would probably be a good move, because the thing is, if you want these set 1 cards back to use as wild cards, then you can always buy them back again later. But in my opinion, I think it's important to keep your stubs liquid so you can always buy basically any card whenever you want. I guess one reason not to sell a lot of the set 1 cards would be if there's another future collection for some of these cards, but I can't say for certain that we will not get another collection of some kind, where we will want some of these set 1 cards from certain series. Like, let's just say if an incognito collection or something like that happened, then obviously some of these set 1 cards then you would be able to put in that collection. But I would say there's probably a good chance that the set collections, core collections, and live series collections are really the only player collections we get this year, but it's so hard to know. But I haven't really talked much about the cheaper set 1 cards, so like this one right here, some of these World Baseball Classic, like the Segura, these are pretty much like quick sell value, and I think what I'm going to do is just hold most of these, because personally, I don't desperately need a lot of stubs, and in case there's a future collection, I might as well hold these. I'll have them already. But if you guys need stubs, if you guys want more stubs, you aren't someone who flips cards or whatever, then it's not a bad idea necessarily to sell off some of these cards, because again, we just don't know if we will actually need these cards for anything, right? So if you want stubs, probably worth just selling, but if you want to hold some, you can do that too. So right now, or just as soon as possible, I would suggest looking into all of the set 1 cards that you guys own, trying to figure out how many cards you want to sell, which cards you want to sell, because personally, I think I'm going to sell some of my expensive cards today, like the Trout and some of those. And I think the sooner, the better when it comes to selling these cards, because as I kind of said before, once everyone gets the idea to sell off these set one cards, once we get closer to season 3, I think that's when people are going to start panic selling. There's going to be a little bit of a crash. So just getting out ahead of that rather than waiting until the last second is probably the best. And while for the most part, I am saying sell your set one cards, we also have to be thinking that SDS is probably also thinking a lot of people will try to sell off their set one cards, right? So I think it's certainly a possible that in future seasons, they give us collections that would use some of these set one cards, or even some of those optional collections using set one cards that we see in certain programs, which would help us progress quicker in those programs, because we have seen this a few times in programs this year. Most notably, I believe it was the monthly awards programs. We have seen that optional collection, but even if we get future collections, either way, you probably don't want to lock in these super expensive set one cards anyways. So that's why I'm just thinking, especially the very expensive set one cards, it would just make sense to buy. And as I said a couple times in this video, you can always buy them back if you really, really want to use them for a wild card or for whatever. So we'll see what happens. I think today I'm going to go ahead and sell this Trout. Probably sell the J-Rod also, who's going for like 40K, and then a few others of these set one cards, because I think my wild card is probably going to be chipper. And if I ever want someone else, I can always just buy them back, right, with some of the stubs I sold them for. So that's my plan. But at the end of the day, all of this is up to you guys, whatever you guys want to do. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the video. Otherwise, that pretty much should be it. Let me know if you guys have any questions. You can leave those down in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.